What's up, all you beautiful rebrandies and rebrandins? Mort Buzz here, just popping in a little early before the episode to tell you guys that we have a Patreon now, and it's very exciting. I just pronounced it Patreon, but it's actually Patreon. So go find us on Patreon or Rebrand the Pod and join the Patreon because you're going to get all kinds of fun stuff. That's where we'll be putting out any unreleased content, which we're definitely going to be doing in the future. Unedited episodes or longer episodes or unreleased episodes entirely. Cool junk like that. So yeah, go check us out on Patreon. Have a beautiful day. Like really mean it today, you know? Quit phoning it in. Really care about your afternoon. And thank you for listening.
Rebrand! Ding! Hello, beloved consumers. I'm Ashley Burch.
And I'm Mort Burke.
You had a bit of a Christopher Walken stank on that one.
Oh, that was accidental, yeah.
Yeah, and I'm Mort Burke.
I do Walken as a cartoon.
Yeah. Because he's not cartoonish enough already.
Yeah. I add a little extra weirdness on my Walken.
And welcome to Rebrand, a comedy podcast where we inject new life into tired old brands, whether they be snack foods, celebrities, or religious institutions. I was a little sicky Ricky, but now I'm back, baby.
Yeah, she
Can't
was.
keep me down.
She was under the weather, which is kind of a funny phrase if you think about it, because I think we're always under the weather, aren't we? At no point are we above the weather.
When you edit this, just put like a raucous applause underneath that joke. Just an absolutely like unmitigated people going insane, screaming.
A stadium full of people.
Yes.
I also would like to do a guitar sting after that.
Well,
joke,
yes,
like
would you please?
please?
We have a guest today, sweetie. Would you like to introduce them?
Oh my gosh. One of my favorite people in the world. This guy is a brilliant stand-up. He's currently on the nationally syndicated Bob and Tom radio show. This is my good friend and soon to be yours, Josh Arnold. Welcome, Josh.
Thank you so much for having me. I love seeing you guys.
It's so nice to meet you finally.
It's nice to meet you finally, too. How do you know Mort?
Mort, I don't know. He was walking down the street one day. I said, get in here, you little rascal.
Yeah. You napped him.
I mean, I'm being held captive, but in a fun way.
Mort's always been very nappable. Easily napped.
Yeah, you can fit me right into a large backpack.
Tote him along with you. He's going, help, please.
I'm protesting so meekly. You know I don't really mean it.
No, not at all. Josh, I think you brought us the topic for rebranding today. Is that right?
Mort kind of suggested it, and I went, yes, this is absolutely due for a rebrand. And the topic is ghosts. I am a believer. I don't know if you two are.
I think we are almost unequivocally, right?
Well, yeah, I've never encountered a ghost personally, but I'm open to other people's stories just because I don't go around calling other people fucking liars. So, like, if I saw a ghost, I'm like, I wasn't there. Maybe that's true.
I love how aggressively you came out against people that are ghost deniers.
Just everybody's so damn sure there's nothing on the other side. I'm like, you haven't been there. Or
Right.
if you were, it was before you were born and you don't remember, so.
That's true.
Can I say, too, that Josh has always been wonderfully interested in all things sort of spooky, and you do have a small collection, at least, of, like, Jason's and Freddy's little sculptures and shit, right?
Yeah, it's a closet's worth. I don't have like, a whole room dedicated to that stuff, but there is a closet dedicated to
Yeah,
it.
you're trying to remain fuckable if possible.
So you just have a secret closet of all your creepy weirdos.
It is. You know what it is? I kind of like a nice looking house, and a lot of that stuff just doesn't lend itself to like domesticity.
Right.
So,
It's hard to have like mid-century modern next to life-size Freddy standee.
yeah.
Yeah, you're not crossing the line that so many adult men are unable to stay behind, which is this turns my house into a haunted children's museum.
I will say I have a cultural investment in this topic because Thai people, which I'm half Thai, we have a different relationship with ghosts than I think other Asian cultures. Like Chinese people, I'm not a fan of ghosts. Thai people, we fucking love ghosts, baby. We make little houses for them.
Yeah.
So they're called samprapum, and they're like a little house within your house where you put offerings out. For some reason, strawberry Fanta is very... Did I just say Fanta like it was a goddamn Grecian, like...
You said it like a queen.
aperitif? Like a queen.
Yeah.
Fanta. Wow, that was really bizarre.
Yeah.
Fanta.
What's the Atlantic accent?
Oh, transatlantic.
Like you were a news reporter.
Hey, give me a glass of Fanta.
Don't have what I give you, dame.
Strawberry Fanta is a very popular drink to put outside of Samprapums, and you put out food and anything that the person liked when they were alive, and we sort of invite them into our home. So it's a very different relationship.
Is there a physical component to them?
As in, do you see them or feel them in any way?
Yeah, or do you feel like they actually come to those houses and drink the soda?
Like Scary Santa?
Yeah.
Yes.
Like posthumous Santa? My mom had one story where, because I was like, maybe I'll make a Samprapum, and she was like, Ashley, if you're going to do this, you have to be really serious about it, because she said they had one, and she said if you don't take care of it, the ghosts get pissed. And then bad shit can happen. So she said that they had a Samprapum, and then I think she said that they neglected it a little bit, or her mom neglected it a little bit, and then their house got broken into.
Ooh, damn.
And she sees that's a one-to-one connection right there, baby.
It sounds like what happened was there were some robbers walking down the street, and since the ghosts were upset, they ushered them gently into your home.
From what I understand, the McAllisters of the Chicago area didn't take care of theirs either, and Kevin had to deal with it.
Yeah, all of Home Alone is a Thai ghost story. Yeah.
There's lore that no one has bothered to explain in any of the iterations of Home Alone.
No, I've actually cornered Chris Columbus, and he will not admit to it.
Federally, it was called stalking.
Well, I mostly just wanted to yell at him for Bicentennial Man, but it turned into this whole... I never even saw Bicentennial.
Is that the one where Robin Williams is a robot man?
Yeah, he's like some odd golden robot dude.
I'm going to look up the Wikipedia page for ghosts and see what our current brand is. I want to say also that Mort turned his baseball cap backwards, so now we're in sport mode.
Do I have to start calling you Chief? Or,
I need attaboys.
Attaboys. The most famous reasons ghosts are around, or the most common theories, are that they have unfinished business.
Right.
Or something terrible happened to them, and so there's all these residual emotions.
And that's why they hang around.
Yeah, yeah. And by the way, it's always unfinished, like emotional. You never hear of a ghost like, man, I never did finish the deck. Like you just hear circular saws and like at 9 a.m. on a Sunday.
Okay, so Wikipedia says, in folklore, a ghost is the soul or spirit of a dead person or non-human animal that is believed by some people to be able to appear to the living. In ghost lore, that's a thing?
That's folklore for ghosts.
Oh, is that where they talk about how humans are real?
Yeah.
Everyone's like, oh, no, have you ever seen a human?
Yeah, they're like, no, they're always watching Netflix.
Descriptions of ghosts vary widely, from an invisible presence to translucent or barely visible wispy shapes to realistic lifelike forms. The deliberate attempt to contact the spirit of I'm saying things like I am a fancy lady today. A deceased person. Is known as necromancy or in spiritism as a seance. Other terms associated with it are apparition, haunt, phantom, poltergeist, shade, specter, spirit, spook, wraith, demon, and ghoul.
So, Josh, have you ever encountered a ghost or no?
Yes, I believe I have. There are two instances where I feel pretty confident about it. One, my grandma always said that her house was haunted, like when my grandparents lived there. You always would kind of get like, especially like going in the basement, just weird feelings, just uncomfortable, sort of, bad vibes. And she would tell stories. But one day she was doing the laundry and I went downstairs. I was just staying over there for a weekend because I was like one of the cool junior high kids that would go stay with my grandparents every now and then. So they would take me to see The Naked Gun and to Olive Garden.
That sounds sick.
Yeah, it was pretty rad. But, so I went down and my grandpa, we heard him walking across upstairs, like across the kitchen floor and go into this hallway. And I was like, I'm going to go say hi to Grandpa. And I went up and nobody was there at all. And she and I distinctly heard somebody walking. And I went down. I was like, Grandpa's not here. And she's like, oh, it's just the ghost. I hear it a lot. I was like, what? And she was so nonchalant about it.
Oh, that's just the fucking demon that lives upstairs.
Yeah, yeah. And like other members of my family had incidents at that house. Like my mom and my aunt were growled at.
What?
In the kitchen one. Yeah. Like they were just kind of sitting there and all of a sudden they heard this really vicious sounding growl and they just left the house.
Wow.
Jesus.
That in the Wikipedia, that's the first time I'd ever heard it referenced the spirits of animals. Sounds like maybe they had a ghost animal on their hands.
Yeah. And then I've like some of the ghost stuff I've read about it. They suggest growling is sort of demonic, but I don't know. I don't know if that house really. I always felt weird, but never like in danger.
I bet it was
I definitely felt creeped out.
a man ghost just being kind of a rascal.
Yeah.
You know, trying something else on
Yeah.
in his
that's
specter.
what I would like to rebrand ghosts more as, of like, it's not that these spirits are stuck in our realm for some negative reason. Like, they want to screw around with us.
They're pranksters.
Yeah.
Yes.
They're the
Yeah.
original, like, Ashton Kutcher.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, that would make me think that their unfinished business is all the yuck-em-ups they didn't get to do when they were alive.
They're goofing. They're having a fun time. Totally.
Yeah.
Well, because that was I had this thought, too, of, like, if ghosts are real, why are they always dicks? How come there isn't a ghost who's just whispering in your ear like a really good recipe?
Have you ever put chocolate chips in brownie? Oh, I need to try that.
Yeah. Like, I just had an idea. And the ghost was like, that was me.
We never get the credit.
My favorite ghost story I learned when I was visiting my dear friend Jack Pendarvis. We should have him on the podcast at some point. Who I wrote on Adventure Time with. Who he
By the
lives
way,
in
it's incredibly rude to have a guest on a podcast and then mention about somebody else on the podcast. I just want to point that out.
Can we just stop doing this one actually and call Jack?
I like Josh, but 10 minutes in, I want to talk to Jack.
Jack lives in Mississippi, and I'm making this story so much longer than it needs to be. I was visiting Jack in Mississippi. William Faulkner's house is there, and it's like a museum. The last time that he did a tour there, the tour guide was talking about how, you know, people were walking around. They were talking about Hemingway, and they were saying some shit about how they love Faulkner, but Hemingway is the most celebrated and the best American author. And the tour guide said that a phone that was on a desk just flew across the room and hit a wall, which I
Faulkner
love.
wasn't having it.
Faulkner was pissed. He was like, don't you be talking about Hemingway in my home?
Yeah.
That hack. There's one ghost show I will watch, and it's called Ghost Adventures. I don't know if you guys. It's not like three ghosts with bindles. Like we're gonna see the world
In a hot air balloon. One of them's a detective. Yeah.
The show that you guys are describing right now sounds awesome.
I know. Ghost
Today we're repelling.
Have you ever gone to like a medium or try to do a seance or anything, Josh?
I've never done a seance. I've seen a couple psychics, and they were way wrong on everything. Dude, one got me so good. I was in Salem, Massachusetts. I had a corporate job at the time, and I was in that area. And so I was like, I'm going to go to Salem, Massachusetts just for a couple days. I was totally broke. I mean, I had like no money. And so I was like, I'll just walk up to the psychic's house. Like there were signs and stuff and just see what she charges. And it was $50. And I was like, I don't have it. And she goes, okay, well, that's a shame because I have much to tell you about love and money. I go, I'll be right back. I purposefully overdrafted at an ATM and went back and gave her the $50. And she had like nothing for me at all. I mean, it was. But then I was like, well, what if some guy went in after me and got all my stuff? Like she just got us somehow.
Oh, right. She was one behind or one
Right.
ahead.
There's another guy that looks just like you, but with a hat on.
Yeah. I did go on a ghost tour though once.
Where was that?
That's where I actually saw orbs. Are you guys familiar with like how sometimes spirits will take the form of these floating orbs?
I've heard of that, yeah.
Uh-huh.
And I couldn't believe it. I don't know. I'm completely confident in saying that it was something supernatural.
Whoa.
There was no faking it. It couldn't. It was at the top of these stairs. It just sort of appeared, and then we were all just awestruck. There were like 12 of us. And it came down like halfway down the stairs, was just floating there, and then it just zipped back up. And zero explanation other than something supernatural.
So was the tour guide like, yeah, we see it all the time?
She was like, oh, this isn't uncommon. It's called the McPike Mansion, and I guess it's notoriously haunted. And then when we were leaving the place, she goes, oh, look, it wants to say goodbye to us or whatever. And we were like, what? And we turned around and you could see a shadow in the doorway. And I don't know. I couldn't debunk that either. I don't know, because it just looked like a free-form, like just a solid shadow standing there.
Whoa, man.
This sort of attitude that she had, I feel like, is a good, in general, I feel like the casualness with which she just gestured or responded, it seems like that's the move, right? Is to not be like ghost, but to be,
Yeah.
She was super nonchalant and she was super appreciative. Like she kept thanking them, for showing themselves to us and just telling them that we weren't there to intrude or invade or anything. And the weird thing is everybody there was elated. Like after we saw the orb particularly, like there was this feeling over all of us of like giddiness. Like nobody was frightened.
I wonder how much of the giddiness came from maybe this kind of recognition that there is more after this. Sometimes if you have like a bad car accident and you just narrowly escape something, you're sort of giddy afterwards.
Right, right.
Like this opening of like possibility.
I'm reminded of another ghost story, which is really long, so I won't recount it, but it ends with someone saying, "Hey, do you know you're dead?" And then all the haunting stopped. So,
Whoa.
Yeah. So that's a tactic, I suppose. But I also like that idea of being nice, being like, oh, if you feel like there's a rattling or something that you can't explain, then being like, excuse me, as you walk by, or being like, hey, how's it going, man?
Yeah, give him a little Fanta.
Yeah, give him a little Fanta.
On that same tour, we talked to this guy who said that he had a bunch of experiences at this old Masonic lodge. And who knows exactly what, like this thing had been around for centuries. Who knows what old Mason, like there are always kind of rumors about that group and stuff. And he said that occasionally they would try to scare him. Like one time he said he was working in sort of this dark hallway, changing a light bulb or something. And he heard one just bum rush him from behind, like this race up right. And he turned around and he goes, knock it off. And it like stopped for a long time. So maybe sometimes you do have to kind of chastise.
Yeah, you got to set your ghost boundaries.
Yeah.
And that is in line with your idea originally, Josh. They're always kind of working hard in the spirit world to be able to come back to Earth to fuck around with us, to sprint directly at us in the middle of the day to really fuck up our afternoon.
I gotta be honest. I think if I was a ghost, I would probably be that kind of ghost. Like, how could you resist?
Yeah, exactly.
How could you resist fucking with people? You're invisible.
Totally. Just pulling people's pants down.
Yeah.
Oh, dude. Why isn't there more of that?
Because again, there's all kinds of different people. There's all kinds of different ghosts. Like tussle the head of a little boy who just did a good job at a baseball game. You know what I mean? Just like nice shit I think is hilarious too.
Equally haunting.
Remember angels in the outfield? Weren't they like a guy would hit like what was going to be a pretty solid triple, but the ghost would grab the ball and like fly it into the stands and it became a home run.
Like just grabs your SAT right before the hands of the teacher and very quickly fills up accurate answers and then gets to watch that guy fucking go on to be like
go to college.
An engineer or something. I'm convinced now that's what's happening with most good things.
Ghost intervention?
Yeah, I think it's ghost intervention.
Who knows? I mean, we've all experienced that thing where for some reason you just drop whatever it is you're holding. Maybe it is being slapped out of our hands.
Just some punk ass ghost being like,
yeah. Some like high school bully that died when he was like 17 and he's still
essentially all ghosts are just older brothers.
Yeah, just whispering like you're a pussy in your ear.
Josh, what kind of ghost would you like to come back as?
Yeah, definitely a practical joker, but I would love to be the pat on the back kind of ghost. Like the people who aren't getting enough recognition for the good they do.
Yeah.
Like do something for them. Like maybe even like a Robin Hood type thing where some jerk went off at a barista and is opening his wallet to pay, but I take like a 20 out of there and give it to like, the student who really needs it, who's trying.
When Bowie died, I was like, this is probably good for the world. Like, because I imagine his spirit dissipates into everything, and there's like a little bit more Bowie magic dust on things.
I love that. Man, it's interesting that this is kind of off topic, but Bowie's death hit me pretty hard. Did it hit you hard?
It did. What that makes me think of is my ex one time. Sorry, honey, please don't slap me.
God fucking damn it.
But I remember she and I are both huge Lou Reed fans. When he died, I remember her sobbing in the store we were at. And I was surprised, and so was she. I think I might be a little bit too emotionally shut down, but I I love Bowie. You were surprised at the way that it affected you?
Yes, I didn't realize how much, like, I guess his stuff mattered to me. Because he died, and I was doing this gig up like in northern Iowa at this casino. And the next day I was driving home. I was listening. Remember Matt Pinfield? He was on MTV a ton, a bald guy.
Yes.
Stocky, he would do a Headbangers Ball and stuff. Well, that guy's an encyclopedia about music and everything. And he was on Sirius XM on some show, and he was just telling all these Bowie stories. And I ran out of gas. I was
wow.
I was so enthralled, and I was really emotionally invested in what he was talking about and my own feelings about it. So it's striking to me that you mentioned, because there was some power to his death.
Yeah.
That I experienced that. It's always shocking when Paul Walker's death really hit me hard.
Really?
In a different way. I wasn't particularly a fan.
Right.
Yeah.
I remember going, oh my God, if that young, like charismatic, handsome dude can just die, none of us stand a chance.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, it was just so weird.
Yeah, and there are other cultures where if someone dies, they'll put them in the middle of the town, and the entire town will come witness and honor the death. But it's like we spend a huge amount of time pretending that death doesn't exist.
Yeah.
So when we're like faced with mortality, especially if somebody in the prime of their life, it reminds some ancient part of us that we're like, oh, that's going to be me one day. I love the Bowie story because that's a really powerful way to have his death communicated to you. Someone who's like studied their career and can articulate the impact. Bowie was the great entertainer. There was some Bowie energy or power in how captivated you were, because that was such a huge part of what he mastered here on Earth, was the ability to captivate and storytell.
It's making me realize, I think that, because I'm a sciencey gal. I like a science.
Yeah.
I like a logic. I like a fact. And I've never really had any trouble with the concept of ghosts. It's probably because when I was younger, my mom, we didn't have a Samprapum. We didn't have a home for the ghosts, but she used to go out and feed them. We would have dinner, and she would make a plate with whatever we were eating for dinner, and she would take it out. We had an orange tree in our backyard. She would take it out to the tree, and she would light incense, and she would pray. And then we would eat our dinner, and then she would come and she'd bring the food back in, and she would throw it away because it was like the spirit of the food had been eaten and it wasn't appropriate to do anything with the food after that.
It was like a full offering.
Yeah. And that's just, there's so much of that in Thai culture. And it's interesting that, like, to me, it's a comfort. I just find it, because as you say, like, I feel like with Western stuff, we talk more about how is it possible to siphon the blood of a young man into my veins so that somehow I am regenerated through his blood than we do, like.
Have you seen that guy that's absorbing his son's blood?
No, this is a truth.
This is the thing that a guy is trying to do. There's a picture of them in some magazine staring into the middle distance, looking absolutely haunted. Yeah.
Yeah, they look very fit and a little frightened. The dad, he kind of looks like imagine a 90s era cyborg.
Imagine Bicentennial Man.
Yeah.
Yes.
But he's getting injections of his son's blood
I mean, that's brutal. Is it?
to try to live forever. He's a human vampire, and he's one of these, like, it's part of the hubris of the whole, like, tech industries conquer the world thing. If you think that all there is after this life is jet black nothingness, then why wouldn't you hoard money? Why wouldn't you eat your son's blood? Why wouldn't you do every insane thing to avoid death? Because in every movie, the worst thing that could ever happen is that you could die. It's just in the back of our minds of, like, the greatest nightmare that could ever happen. And it's inevitable for all of us.
Which is why when I think about the spirit of William Faulkner throwing a phone against a wall, I'm like, that rules. Because it really makes me think that, like, there's some vestige of us. Maybe there's also people that are like, well, I don't like the idea of being trapped in some way.
Sure.
But I guess he can't be doing that bad if he still has a grudge against Hemingway. You know what I mean? Like, he can't be that tortured and haunted if he's still bummed about people saying that Hemingway.
If his main thing is that the sun also rises, it was overrated.
Yeah, right. Then he can't be, like, in a torturous hell prison of his own making, if he's still being that petty.
Well, how do you guys feel about the idea that Faulkner and Hemingway were both standing there, kind of like laughing, and Faulkner went, "Watch this," and he threw the phone. And he went, "They're going to think that we still have some kind of weird feud going on or whatever."
I never considered that, and that's excellent.
All right. Now let's go piss on Fitzgerald's grave.
There you go. Headbutt James Joyce.
Hey, headbutt. Ulysses is completely unreadable.
But then also Hemingway does have a huge gunshot hole in the back.
Yeah, it's hard to look at. And like every now and again they go, man, like they try to do something, like they try to buy him hats, but he just, no, I'm never comfortable in these. And like, no, look, you're doing it for us, Ernie.
Yeah, like, will you comb your hair over it? It looks so crazy.
Like if I speak into it, it echoes.
Also, there's tons of cats around him.
Those 6-toed cats.
And then they all fly off into the cosmos holding hands. This was popping in my mind. We rebranded baseball last episode. There was a pitcher who threw a fastball and it hit a bird in
Was that
midair.
Randy Johnson?
It was Randy Johnson, yeah.
Arizona Diamondback Randy Johnson?
Honey, you're a real jock all of a sudden.
It's
The
the only
unit.
fact I know about the state that I was born in, is that Randy Johnson once murdered a bird.
The percentage chance against that is astronomical. That was a ghost.
No, what I imagined actually is that there was a ghost hovering above the stadium, also dressed as a baseball player, took the bird, did a wind up,
Threw it from the sky?
threw it from the sky so that it would intersect with Randy Johnson's throw, and then the bird would explode into bird viscera.
That's great.
What's funny about that is that's the only thing that makes it worse for the bird. That before it exploded, it all of a sudden was grabbed by a ghost and whipped down.
But can you imagine then if every creature has a ghost, then that bird's ghost just pops up and is like hilarious. Loved that. I like the idea actually that rather than like a Ghost Adventures or a paranormal show, that we do a different version that is like punked.
Yeah.
So it's like you're looking for ghosts, but evidence of their tomfoolery rather than their sordid past, their haunting. You know what I mean? So it's like the three of us, we're trying to find the pranksters. Ghost pranks.
I was doing a stand-up show, and like there was a lady, and I was like, "What are you doing?" She's like, "I work in TV." And I go, "Oh, cool. What kind?" She goes, "Reality TV." And I was like, "Oh, okay. What kind?" She's like, "Oh, it's sort of paranormal." And I was like, "So ghost hunting?" And she's like, "Yeah, ghost hunting." And I was like, "Okay, so we're talking 2 white guys and a lady." She goes, "Yeah, it's 2 white guys and a lady." When we
We're
make
2
this
white guys
show-
and a lady.
Yeah, we absolutely fit the bill.
I wrote a video sketch that, of course, I never did anything with, and I wouldn't know what to do with, but it's called Boner Ghost. And and these people, it's like a ghost hunting show, and they keep interviewing these people who've seen this ghost. Who's just this man, sort of in like the 19th century garb, who just has a raging boner, like in it, like he's wearing pants. And so they're like, "Were you scared?" And they're like, "No, it was just kind of weird." Like, "Did you ever feel threatened?" They're like, "No, it's just weird that he's walking around. He has this big boner." Like, "Oh, can you describe him?" Like, "Yeah, he looked, and he had a huge boner."
I want you to make this because I really like imagining like the grainy footage
Right.
thing, and the outline is like vaguely human, and then there's just a stick straight dick.
That's exactly what it is. Yes, but like one of those pants. Yeah. But I was like, "There's no way I'm putting any money in this."
You sink your life savings into this.
Right.
Good. Destroy your life for Boner Ghost, Josh. What are you doing?
The prosthetic for the boner costs like $11,000.
You were talking earlier about you're a fact person.
Mhm.
One of my favorite things is when a ghost video or something is debunked, because it's important. Like, I think it's great when they go, "Oh, you know what? This thing we saw ended up being a moth." I love when shows do that, because it's like, no, we're not afraid to debunk things, because we know we're going to get some pretty unanswerable evidence.
And I'll say one more thing about this, and this is just a belief that I have. It's a weird analogy, hard to articulate, but if you think of the way that fish evolved, right? They evolved with senses to live in the ocean, yeah? So they don't have the sensory understanding to know that there are things like cell phones that exist outside of their realm
Right.
of understanding. We evolved in a physical world. That doesn't mean that the only thing that exists is the physical world.
We
You
could
know?
be swimming in ghosts. I remember, and now I'm like, was this a fever dream that I had? But I'm going to describe to you a ghost. I can't remember who told me about it, but it was like a ghost / home improvement show, kind of, which is that they would have someone come in to both deal with a ghost and also be like, "You have termites."
No way.
So it was a really, really awful ghost hunter who'd come in and be like, yes, I can feel it. There's a murder happened here. And then a guy would come in and be like, nope. So this is actually some scarring from the fireplace. There was a fire here and you can see the ash marks. But it was always like it was like they were trolling the ghost hunter lady because she would come in first and do her whole bit. And then the guy would come in afterward and be like, nope, just got some faulty wires here. And they never found not once were they like, but who knows? Always the guy came in and was like, no. I think it lasted like half a season.
Yeah. Like episode 5, at the end, she just looks at the camera and goes, why do I keep doing this? You make me look like a fool every time. This is my life.
Guys, what's our ghost prank show going to be called?
What if I was like, I don't know, and I just shut my laptop?
Or what if a ghost with a boner walks behind you right now and we're like, no, Josh, look. Yeah.
Josh, thank you so much for joining us for this episode.
You are so welcome. Thank you guys for having me.
You're the best, dude. I love you.
I feel the same about you. I miss you a ton, man. Like, yeah. I think about you often and often quote you from like the past 25 years to friends and stuff. I just think like, oh, my buddy Mort said this one time. Aww. That happens a lot.
Josh, where can people find you?
Social media, Instagram is the only thing I'm on. That Josh Arnold.
Nice.
Yeah.
And then, honey, where can they find us?
Well, one more real quick joke, which is the modern parlance of ghost.
Fonta parlance.
The word ghosting in our modern language means when somebody leaves.
Which is funny because ghosts just hang out.
All ghosts do is hang out. It's the opposite of ghosting.
Hey, you're right. I guess they say ghost because when somebody dies, they disappear. I guess they can't be like, hey, whatever happened to that Brian guy you were talking to? Oh, he died? What?
You can find us on the social medias at Rebrand the Podcast. We now have a Patreon, so go join our Patreon. And then our socials are at Rebrand the Podcast. Follow us on Instagram. Go rate. Go on Apple and Spotify. Give us as many stars as possible. And write a review that seems fake. It's so glowing.
The last thing I'll leave you with is say hi to a ghost near you, you know?
Yes.
Honey, do your ghostly goodbye again.
Goodbye.